Hello vintage outboard motor fans, this is T-Mike making another video today. Today's video is going to be on how to test and measure for spark on your vintage outboard motors. So if everybody's ready, here we go. So I'm going to show you 5 ways of how to test for spark, and I'm going to show you how to measure your spark to determine if it's good spark. So in my quest for trying to make a video on everything there is to know about 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, and 70s, Johnson and Evinrude, 20 horsepower and less, I've made several videos on spark so far. I've made videos on how to rebuild your ignition magneto. I've explained what a coil is. I've explained what a condenser is. I've explained what the flywheel is. So I think I've covered just about everything, and if you want to check out my other videos, you can learn everything you need to know about ignition magneto system and how to create spark. So now I'm going to make a video on how to check for spark. I'm going to give you 5 ways to check, and the 5th way is going to be the best and the way that I do it. All right, so here's tip number 1. All right, the first way to check for spark is what I call the finger test. So you just take the spark plug off of the power head. All right, hold the spark plug in one hand, touch your finger onto the motor and pull the rope. Probably gonna hurt if it's got spark. Just kidding, don't do that test. But it would work. It would show you if there's spark or not, because you would get shocked. Okay, so that's the first way, just kind of a joke. All right, so the second way to check that I started off doing, I'm sure a lot of you are doing that out there. Second way is to take your plug out of your motor, and I recommend taking out the other plug too. Makes it easier to pull the rope, and with the spark plug wire connected, just lay it on the motor. Lay the spark plug on the motor where you can see the gap and pull the rope. You'll be able to see the spark if there is one sparking right there, and a lot of times you can hear it. Sometimes you may have to turn the light off in your shop or do it at night to see it. So again, that's the second way. It's still kind of crude. It shows you that you have spark. It doesn't tell you how good that spark is. We're going to get into the good spark in a minute. All right, so that was tip number 2. All right, after I decided I needed to determine if I had good spark, I moved up to the next tester, which is an inline tester. All right, this one is a Lyle 20610 inline tester, and the way these work is you take your spark plug wire off, put this on the spark plug, and hook the spark plug wire to it. Now when you pull the rope, there's a filament in here that lights up if there's spark. All right, so it's in line. You can see if you have spark, and it glows. A lot of times you have to have the lights off to see it, but it is a tester. It does give you a better visual than holding the spark plug on there. So that's an inline tester. Okay, now after I started using that inline tester, that was good, but I still had some problems with some of my motors. I couldn't figure out what it was, and finally I determined I didn't have good spark. So there's a difference between having spark and having good spark. So to know if you have good spark, you have to be able to measure the spark. Now, I tried to research and looked at YouTube videos, and there's not really any meter I found that you can measure spark. When the good spark comes out of that spark plug wire, it's 20 to 40,000 volts, and it happens in a flash. All right. So what I found, the best thing to do is to see the gap that it can jump. The further the gap is that the spark jumps, the better the spark. So I've determined that a 1/4 inch gap, if a spark can jump a 1/4 inch gap, you've got good spark. So here's another tester that is called a gap tester. All right, this is a Texton 404. All right, gap tester. Okay, so the way this one works is you plug your take the plugs out, hook this to your spark tester, hook this to your spark wire, and then connect it to ground on the motor. All right, pull the rope and you'll see the spark jump the gap in the tester, and you can change that gap by doing this and bring it all the way out to a 1/4 inch gap. All right, pretty cool. I like that one. Okay, so that's the 4th way. Now I'm gonna give you the 5th way, and the best way, and for me the only way to check for spark, and that is with a 1/4 inch tester. This is a Sierra 18-8960. Has 4 leads on it. We're only going to use 2 for our motors because they have 2 cylinders, 2 spark plugs, and a ground clip. The way this works, take the plugs out, connect your ground clip to a good ground on the motor. And then take your 2 leads and plug them into the 2 boots, 2 spark plug wires. Then the gauge has an adjustable gap setting. Okay, that's all the way closed. You pull it out and it's a 1/4 inch gap, and you'll see the spark jump across these 2 leads. All right, if it doesn't jump across it and you lower the distance and it jumps, you have spark, but it's not good spark. Good spark. I make all my motors jump a 1/4 inch gap on this Sierra 18-8960. That's what in Cajun country what we call ça c'est bon. It is good spark. Guarantee if you get this tester and you use this on your motors that you're working on, a lot of your problems on idle and high speed and different problems that you're having will be solved by making it jump that 1/4 inch gap. All right, so let's review. I gave you 5 ways to check for spark. All right, first way was the finger test, not recommended. Second way was laying the plug on the engine. Third way was an inline tester. Fourth way was the gap tester, and the final solution, the 5th way, was the 1/4 inch Sierra tester. Okay. So with those 5 ways of testing for spark, you ought to be able to solve all your ignition problems. Magic. Hope you all enjoyed the video. See y'all next time.
I hope you all enjoyed the video. Here at T Mike's Vintage Outboards, we're doing it 1 motor at a time. Please click on subscribe. I guarantee to provide weekly videos. Au revoir mes amis, and laissez les bon temps rouler.